Next on deck with Tim Black.
It's not simplistic, and we've got to have real, honest conversations about it.
Real, honest conversation.
Jesus Christ. Yo, did you see the numbers there? I'm sorry, I got distracted. Wow. Can we go to Morning Joe throwing black people under the bus for 200, Steve? Sure. Here goes Al Sharpton and Morning Joe Scarborough throwing black people under the bus, particularly black men. Oh, and Latinos for $200.
Really quickly, too. Democrats need to be mature, and they need to be honest. And they need to say, yes, there's misogyny. But it's not just misogyny from white men. Mm-hmm. It's misogyny from Hispanic men.
Right.
It's misogyny from black men, things we've all been talking about, who do not want a woman leading them. Might be race issues with Hispanics. They don't want a black woman as president of the United States. You know, the Democratic Party, I've always found when you're sitting around talking, they love to just sort of balkanize everybody into these separate groups and say, oh, white people don't like women and black people. No, it is time for the Democrats to say, okay, and you and I have talked about this before, a lot of Hispanic voters have problems with black candidates.
Right.
A lot
and
of,
with other Hispanics. You've got some that don't like each other. And some of the most misogynist things I've heard going on this Get Out the Vote tour came from black men. I mean, misogynist things. So you're absolutely right. It's not simplistic. And we've got to have real, honest conversations about it.
Real, honest conversation.
Jesus Christ. Yo, did you see the numbers there? I'm sorry, I got distracted. Wow. Jesus Christ, Mr. Sanford. Somebody like Trump. Trump support amongst Latino voters. That's men and women. Latino men and women. I thought you had something just for the guys. Woo! Y'all went hard. So much for wow. You think it's possible the new immigrants decided to vote for Trump anyway? Let's look at what Scarborough said. Scarborough said that there are misogynists and there are racists who are not white. Yeah, it's true. There are people that don't want to elect a woman. Guess what? It's not that many people. Now, I don't think that's the deciding factor why she lost. I think that could be a contributor to some people's decision, but if she was amazing, maybe they wouldn't care. A lot of basketball players get rings. They're not all Michael Jordan, okay? But it helps to be Michael Jordan, level good. Here's the thing. Being a president is a rare thing. No one owes or earns being president. It is an unearnable achievement. It has so many factors. For you to try to make the factor be she's a female or a woman and make that be the reason why she isn't, that to me is cherry picking. I could also point at her lack of cohesive speech, her lack of answering questions directly that was tiresome to a lot of people that voted. A lot of people in the electorate felt they didn't know who she was, they didn't understand what she stood for, and she didn't have a clear understanding of what she was going to do.
What's your message to Michigan voters in terms of the economy? We have auto workers who are being laid off and those who fear that they might be laid off. The average person can't afford groceries or their rent. And recent polls in Michigan show that Michigan voters believe that Donald Trump would do a better job with handling the economy and bringing jobs back. What do you say to that?
Well, let's start with this. I come from the middle class, and I'll never forget where I come from. My mother worked very hard. She, by the time I was a teenager, was able to save up for our first home. And I understand.
Tired of the same old type of politics? Well, welcome to the Tim Black Show. We do live streams every day at 9:30 p.m. Sunday through Friday. So be here and be a part of the change for the people. And now, back to the show.
You also leave that out. A lot of people do not trust the Democratic Party as a whole. Because remember, they rejected Biden. Why did they reject Joe Biden? Was it because they were ageist? No, they thought he was mentally declined, right?
I've changed the law. What's happened? I've changed it in a way that now you're in a situation where there are 40% fewer people coming across the border illegally. That's better than when he left office. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look, we had the safest border in the history of our country. The border, all he had to do was leave it. All he had to do was leave it. He decided to open up our border, open up our country to people.
They also didn't like his policies. They didn't support Joe Biden because of his age, not because they were ageist, but because he showed mental decline. 2, he also had policies that we had a problem with. 3, and he also, Jesus Christ, man, it was just time to go for other reasons. But why do people not support Kamala Harris? What about her policies? Being a part of that same administration. You didn't say they didn't support Joe because he's a guy. Because that had nothing to do with it, right? Well, Kamala had other things too. So anyway, at the end of the day, we could go back and forth about it. Of course, there are some people. There are people that won't watch this channel because they'll cut it on to see a bald-headed black man on it. See, it is what it is. Some people might cut on this channel and say, wow, a bald-headed black guy. Just what I've been looking for. I got no control over that. But if you give me an opportunity, if you sit through a segment, I might surprise you. And that's all. Kamala's got that opportunity. When you have $1 billion budget and Rihanna, Beyonce, all of Hollywood, Eminem, Robert De Niro, Michael McConaughey, every known person under the sun kissing your butt, propping you up. You got New York Times, CBS, NBC, MSNBC, CNN, NPR, ABC. When you got 60 minutes, and you got everybody kissing your high ass. Yo, you don't get to say, I'm a woman. Now, you should have more reasons than that. If you got $1 billion, you can get anything you want. Isn't that the problem? How money corrupts our system? Kamala Harris not only had $1 billion to blow, which she did, she had unknown amounts of free earned media from corporate media that just ran positive after positive piece of material about her. Positive press. I saw a study that said ABC, NBC, and CBS, about 90% of their coverage of Kamala was positive, and about 90% or 85% of Trump's coverage was negative. Why aren't you counting that? Don't you think 90% of 90% of publicity or press coverage of your candidate being positive, don't you think that gives you an outsized advantage on anyone? Don't you think that mitigates the few bigots or the few misogynists that lurk around with their knuckles dragging? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. I'll take that. You know how big this show could be if I got coverage for free on major news sites? Right now, I'm having such a hard time because brothers don't want to promote other brothers because we competition. Jesus, just imagine if I had a little bit of a push. We think we do a pretty good show here. If more people knew about it, it'd be bigger. So whatever's holding me back, if I had the actual money and the resources behind me, hell, those things become stepping stones, baby. You don't need everybody. And know this, Kamala didn't need everybody to vote for her, just enough. Hell, 40% of Americans don't vote anyway. She didn't need everybody. All right, guys, hit the like button if that makes sense to you. If you say, Tim, you on fire, brother. Very good points. Hit the like button. Help us get to 700, folks.